Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we sniff out the truth behind the numbers. Today we're cracking open CNS Pharmaceuticals' latest report, and let me tell you, it's a bit like a medical drama. Will their experimental drugs make it, or will they flatline? Stick around to find out. CNS Pharmaceuticals is a company trying to develop new anti-cancer drugs focusing on brain and central nervous system tumors. This report is a look at how they're doing so far this year, specifically the first 3 months. Let's dive into the numbers. Before we start, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below for even more discussion. First, let's look at the balance sheet, which is like a snapshot of the company's assets, what it owns, and liabilities, what it owes. Looking at the numbers for March, their cash and cash equivalents, that's basically money they can use right away, jumped to about $13 million. At the end of last year, it was only about $6.5 million. That's a pretty significant increase, so it looks like their financial resources have improved. There are deferred offering costs of around $20,000. Basically the expenses they've racked up while planning to offer new stock to the public. What is interesting is they have a subscription receivable from December that was almost $1 million. This is when someone has promised to pay them money, but as of March, that money has yet to show up. Overall, though, their total assets are almost $14 million, up from about $8.7 million at the end of last year. Now let's flip to the liabilities, what the company owes to others. Accounts payable and accrued expenses, that's things like bills and salaries, are around $2.6 million, which is up slightly compared to last year. It also says that they have about $210,000 in notes payable, which are basically short-term loans, down slightly from December. Their total liabilities come in at just under $2.8 million. Finally, stockholders' equity, or what's left over for the owners after all the bills are paid, is about $11 million. This is a good jump from December, where it was only around $6.2 million. The increase appears to stem from them issuing 1.5 million new shares of common stock. In short, CNS Pharmaceuticals has significantly more money to work with now than it did just a few months ago. Let's check out their income statement, which shows how profitable they've been in the last 3 months. For the first 3 months of this year, their general and administrative cost, that's the cost of running the business day to day, totaled almost $1.1 million. Research and development is their main expense of almost $3.3 million. So total operating expenses are roughly $4.3 million. Since they don't have any revenue yet, this means they had a loss from operations of $4.3 million for the quarter. This is almost $1 million more than last year. It says here that their net loss, what they actually lost after all, income and expenses, was about $4.3 million or about $1,000 per share. But that's because the number of shares outstanding has increased drastically. Now, let's look at the cash flow statement to see how the company is handling its money. They had over $3.2 million in cash used for operating activities, which is normal for a company like this. However, they had over $9.8 million provided from financing activities. At the end of the day, their cash went up over $6.5 million this quarter to end at $13 million. The company has a note payable, basically a loan, that was used to finance certain insurance policies. The original amount was about $326,000 with payments spread over 11 months. The remaining amount was roughly $10,000. The company's board of directors had a couple of stock plans they were issuing from, one from 2017 and one from 2020. During the first 3 months of this year, they recognized about $45,000 in expenses related to outstanding stock options. There is still another $50,000 of expenses related to outstanding options that haven't been recognized yet. It looks like as of March there are a total of 270 options outstanding. This gives option holders the right to purchase the company's stock at $33,000 per share. It also looks like there are 27 shares remaining that can be issued under the 2020 plan. Scroll schedule of stock warrant cap activity scroll. Warrants are similar to options. Right now there are about 59,000 of them outstanding at an average of about $460. The company also had performance units. These vest based on the company's share price and the achievement of clinical data targets. There are 5 non-vested performance units remaining from the end of last year. They also had a scientific advisory board with Dr. Waldemar Preb, the founder, and Dr. Sigmund Shu. They used to receive annual compensation of about $69,000, but that ended in March of last year. They still owe Mr. Shu $177,000 from the Scientific Advisory Board compensation. CNS Pharmaceuticals entered into an agreement with Cortice Biosciences for an exclusive license to certain patents, which means CNS Pharmaceuticals has the sole right to use those patents to develop products. But it is only in the US, Canada, Mexico, and Japan. As part of the deal, CNS Pharmaceuticals had to issue over 11,000 shares of their common stock to Cortice with a fair value of just under $600,000. They also may have to issue millions more dollars in the future based on certain achievements, as well as royalties on any sales of licensed products. One thing that happened after the quarter ended, but before this report came out, is they entered into an agreement for a public offering of common stock at just over $1 per share for gross proceeds of about $5 million. Unfortunately, they say here that their disclosure controls and procedures are ineffective, and there is a material weakness in their internal control due to a few reasons. First, the lack of proper job duties within the company. Second, there is limited access to timely and complete information due to using a third party to manage clinical trials. And third, there is a lack of formal documentation of their control environment. That's not a good sign. Now, taking all of that into account, let's talk about the overall picture. CNS Pharmaceuticals is in a tough spot. They're burning through cash and still losing money each quarter, but they are managing to find investors willing to give them more money. The fact that they're still losing money is not necessarily a bad thing for a small biotech company as long as they are making progress. The concerning part is that they say their internal controls are not effective, which means they can't be sure the numbers are correct. This means that if they do actually develop a successful drug, their stock might be worth a lot. So there is some potential upside here. Their main weakness is that they need to get some drugs approved and start selling them to become cash flow positive and not rely on selling more shares. It is difficult to give a range for their stock. It is probably going to be all over the place until they get a drug approved. Alright, that's our breakdown of CNS Pharmaceuticals' latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.